not gonna say much about my.
Recording.
We're on. Yeah?
Right.
Everyone good?
Sir.
Awesome.
Recording.
Wait,
Yeah, it's
Bashir, what did
recording.
you just say?
Yes, sir. Can you not hear me anymore?
No, at the beginning, like right when the recording started.
It said
I don't
recording in
even-
progress.
I don't think I said anything.
Oh God. Okay. Well, we are recording now. So I'm just introduce ourselves again. My name's Max. And we got to my left, I don't know what it looks like. We got Elyes, we got Bashir, and then we got someone new joining us today. Mariam, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Mariam. I'm an Armenian American based on the East Coast, and I'm glad to be a part of this organization.
Awesome. So we've been working on quite a bit of stuff in the last month. We have managed to make another monthly podcast. Let's hope that continues. But I'll share some of the things I've been working on after you guys go ahead. So Elyes, what are some things that you've been doing for the organization?
I've just been progressing with my mental health project that I'm working on with my girlfriend, and right now we're on the hardest stage. It's like getting the script finished, writing a script, and so right now it's finishing the script and touching it up and tweaking it just to make it like the most realistic and most accurate, while also making it. We don't want to have it like a 1 hour script, so that's kind of in the progress we are. But once the script is done, like the possibilities open up endlessly. So, and I have plenty of ideas what to do with after the script. I'm sure everybody can imagine what's an obvious one. If you have a script, what are you gonna do? Probably gonna act it out. I have like 3 or 4 ideas to do after that, but that's basically it.
Awesome. And Bashir?
So recently I've conducted a couple interviews, which we hope to release. Working on getting a couple more done. And then I'm hoping to get a couple more of those short videos we got of like influential people talking about why culture is important. And then lastly, I go to Lee Summit West. We have Tie-In TV, hoping to get on there for an interview just for around the schools, like talk a bit about our organization, spread some more news with William and I. He's obviously not here, but he's one of the members of this organization. And then lastly, Lee Summit West is having a culture festival, and we hope William and I are hoping to go out there and like get a video going, just talking to different people about different cultures, because we'll have like Mandarin culture, French culture, German culture, and Spanish culture representing. So that's a pretty good variety, and I'm excited for that.
Awesome. And seriously, that Eric Palmer Brown video, it's the real deal. And we're really grateful that he did that for us and grateful that you got that. So Mariam.
So since I'm a bit new to this organization, I'm still making progress to writing several different articles, which are actually on our website, and they all pertain to things such as linguistics, cultures of the world, my own Armenian heritage, the benefits of bilingualism, and the importance of diversity and open-mindedness. And I'm also getting started for organizing and actually leading my school's Culture Day. And we're hoping to somehow have several cultural performances, whether that's through music or dance, and also like some sort of poster board competition there.
It's awesome. And I love the fact that you mentioned the open-mindedness. That's a huge part of our thing. And then those culture days like you guys are doing, it's a great way to help others open their mind to cultures and, just at least try it, put themselves out there, and you never know what you may learn. So I'm working on, genocide education, still day-to-day stuff that we all do for the organization. So, make good progress there. Elyes, I believe that there's some facts that you wanted to share on mental health, like some things in particular that we found quite horrifying, maybe. Would you like to share those? Because it really puts into perspective and shows how mental health can be related to diversity.
1 sec.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good. Take a drink.
So, we all know
My man's queuing this whole time.
the biggest epidemic of teenagers throughout the world is mental health. Leading cause of deaths for kids, aka suicide. But here's a little cool fact: 26% of Americans that are aged 18 and older will suffer from a diagnosable mental disorder. That's like a fourth
Yeah.
of any adults. I don't know if people look at that and they say like geez, like I mean we have like almost 8 billion people, so I'm sure there's more people. There's not. I'm sure the percentages are lower in other countries, and I actually know because I looked at it recently that percentages are higher in other countries, but we have 40 million in America, and we have about a fourth, so close to I'd say we have at least 50 million people that suffer from a mental disorder. To me, that's shocking. The fact that we still don't have that much emphasis on it in our country and in our society, and we don't have enough like free and affordable resources for it to be able to help it. More than 1 in 3 high school students have experienced persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness, and this was before COVID. This was in 2019, so I'm sure those numbers would be way higher now from COVID. COVID has caused a lot of stress on people and a lot of tension because people are just worried about their future. And approximately 1 in 6 youth reported making a suicide plan in the past year in 2019. I'm assuming youth means under 18, but 1 in 6 is a lot. That's I just like reading and seeing these facts makes me still curious as to how we don't have more affordable therapists or more resources or a specified mental health counselor and a specified mental health therapist in every high school in the nation. I don't understand why we don't have that yet. I know it's not a matter of funding because I know a lot of money in schools and districts are given to certain areas that I don't think are necessarily needed. And I think having a therapist or a mental health counselor would be way more important. So those are some of the facts. I don't know if you guys have anything you want to add on before I move on, Max.
No, I was just gonna relate that to everything else we do. Like, no, let me write this. Okay. We like to bring awareness to those things that you just said because it can help others, open their minds to things that are really happening in the world, and it gives them a platform. Diversity for Change KC does, to where they can help make a difference with that. So it's the same way with like our Afghanistan fundraiser. We're helping people understand what's happening there, helping them understand how they can help, and giving them a platform to help. So we hope that this can be something similar, and it's something that can hopefully make a difference through all of the people that support us. So I think that's just what I was going to bring up. Yeah, what's up, Bashir?
Just to touch on that, I didn't really ever think about that, what Elyes just said about like having a therapist at every school. I mean, I know Elyes touched on this previously, like people, like when people are acting out or whatever's happening, it's usually for a reason. So they need somebody to be there to listen without making judgments and like concentrate on their needs in that moment. And a therapist would honestly be a tremendous thing because I mean, where do we spend a lot of our time? I mean, in school, and it's all high schoolers, and to have somebody there for them and like that could actually sit there and like listen and truly show that they care, that would be like truly tremendous. And like that honestly is like a great thing.
To add to that, I think I completely agree with Bashir, and I think it is very much so crucial that we do have actual licensed, educated therapists to be there, because if we don't, it seems as though many people who aren't supposed to necessarily be therapists have to step in and mediate certain situations that aren't necessarily ideal for them. Like, I don't think that it's right that other students or other teachers have to do something that a therapist is hired for And we should certainly be there for everyone and such, but a therapist would make this sort of situation much more easy for everyone.
Absolutely. And, you know, I just wrote down, actually, maybe that's something that we could help with. Like you said, funding is not an issue. So if it's not raising money to help support a mental health counselor, maybe it's just lobbying or campaigning to get that done. So that's
Yeah,
something
I
we
would
can
love
do.
to include that. Honestly, I would love to add that into my mental health project. And I would need help with that, obviously, because I mean, I would be adding a huge part of it. But I think I could honestly intertwine that with what I'm doing, because I think what I'm doing is the goal of what I'm doing is to raise awareness and change people's perspective and how they perceive it. And I think that by doing that will help us get a licensed therapist or specified mental health counselor into schools. So I think I can intertwine them, but I think that's a great idea, and we could add that to the list of ideas to implement.
Yeah, 100%. And I think all of us would love to help with that. And I feel like that would be honestly a really, honestly, pretty simple thing to campaign and get a lot of people, like our friends, other people around. I mean, you look at the facts, 1 in 4 adults are affected, more than 1 in 3 high school students. You read the fact about 1 in 6. Like, everybody honestly has been impacted by this in some way in their life, especially in this generation, in this time period. So I'm sure we would all love to help, and it would be something great to like campaign for. And like,
For sure. That may be something down the road, but it's amazing that we're able to have these conversations and get ideas like that. And that's how these things happen. And it's how we've honestly built Diversity for Change KC. So kind of switching over now, changing the topic a bit. Again, it is opening minds to cultures around the world, and, you know, understanding how that can make you who you are, and then using that identity to go do good things in the world. Mariam had an idea for a little game, you can say. Would you like to explain that?
Since one of the aims of Diversity for a Change KC is to make people more open-minded, one of the ways in which we can do that is actually exposing ourselves to various cultures. So here we have a small game called Cultural Clash, I suppose. And essentially we're going to go around and discuss one theme or one topic, and everyone is essentially going to explain how this sort of theme or topic relates to their own culture and how our different cultures perceive it or partake in it.
All right.
So before we begin, all of us, why don't we go around and actually share what our heritage is, what our cultural background is. Bashir, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so as I've talked about before, I come from like a Libyan heritage, more of like a Arab culture, I guess you could say. That's pretty much it.
Is there anything you would like to share about Libya or Libyan culture? How would you describe it?
It's honestly, it's a bit different. It's a lot more of like a collective culture where like it's more of everybody's connected. Everybody's like, I guess you could say, more united. Like within your street, within your friends, like everybody's just like, you always have like support systems. Whereas like, I guess like, I feel like maybe more in like when I'm in America, it's more of like individualistic, where everybody's more focused on like their own ways and stuff. So I guess that's like pretty much the biggest difference. But I mean, I guess I'll talk about it more in the game once the questions come, because off the top of my head is not much.
Of course. Elyes, you?
I am from a country right next to Bashir's, Tunisia, North Africa. That's where it's located. Regular.
It's significantly different though, yeah?
I'd say it's significantly different because of all the unfortunate events that are taking place in Libya. It's not really the Libyan people's fault, but I'd say Tunisia is one of the more, over the past 30 years, been one of the more like blessed countries economically in Africa. So
Gotcha. I'm of Armenian American background. It's significantly more Americanized now. So yeah, I've explained it all before. So yeah.
I mean, you have a flag in the background.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Hayastan.
Hayastan.
Oh,
Yes, I am Armenian. I think we all know this, but I was actually the first person in my family to be born in America. And it's interesting because all of us in this call and such are actually Mediterranean, so we'll find many similarities, it seems. So first things first, we have greetings. How are they done in your culture?
Bashir first.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, pretty much, I mean, we've talked about this as a group before, but to share, I mean, when you greet somebody, first off, there's always like the traditional kiss on each cheek and a hug. And sometimes some people take it to different levels. So it might be like 6 kisses. And then like sometimes when people give like a hug, some people will like literally pound and destroy your back when they're like hugging you. So it's just like people have like different enthusiasm levels. And then another thing is it will be like 60 questions. So they'll be like, how's your family? How's your kids? How's your friends? And then they'll like ask the same questions again. And then they'll just keep asking the same questions. So like the greeting is probably like 10 minutes. So that's a bit different, but it's honestly like, I like it. I enjoy it. And then obviously they'll invite you to like, let's say I just see you in the street and I could be insanely busy, but I'll literally take 10 minutes to greet you. And then I'll invite you for tea, even though I have like no time to do that. And it's just like more of that type of environment where it's just like about like, I guess you could say like more focused on other people than yourself. And so I guess that's a bit different.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. My country's greetings is really similar to Bashir's. I feel like a lot of things are going to be really similar to Bashir's.
Yeah.
As they're right next to each other, but greetings is the same. It's traditionally 2 kisses, 1 on each cheek, and it's more of like an air kiss. So you're not like directly, like straight lips on the cheek. It's kind of like you're kissing the side of the cheek at an angle. But depending on who it is in your relationship, some people might go for more hugs. I haven't personally experienced those hugs where people try. Actually, my uncle, never mind. But sometimes people will try to suffocate you with a hug. That some people have. And then like the hospitality, like Bashir said, inviting people like you walk into someone's house and they'll be like, hey, like Bashir said, they ask you how's your family, how's your kids. I'm gonna add a couple that I've heard. They'll be like, how's your family, how's your kids, how's your father, how's your mother, how's your grandmother, how's your grandfather. Just ask everything, how's school, how's life. Be asking like 35 questions in the span of 2 minutes. And they don't even be expecting an answer really. They just like they're just asking and asking. You have no chance to answer.
Yeah, it's irrigation.
It's like that. And the hospitality side, like you go into someone's house immediately. You get sit down, you get tea, you get sweet, and they might even just make you a full course meal just because you're there.
Talk about the language too, because yours is a little bit more French.
Yeah, we have a lot of people because French is an official. Tunisia is the first language, but French is an official language in Tunisia. So like almost everybody that lives in the capital, and in like the major cities, grows up speaking Arabic and French. When you get to like villages in the countryside or outside, like down south, they don't really speak French. But everybody up north speaks French typically.
Yeah, that region is actually called Le Maghreb in French because of how it was colonized.
Libya just missed the cut. You're just outside of the speaking region.
Yeah.
Just Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. But
yeah. Sorry, y'all get them next time. All right, Max.
And last we have Armenia. I mean, I don't know what there is to say because you guys all summed it up so perfectly. But yeah, this is a very Mediterranean thing to do. Greetings are almost like a ceremony because here in America, greetings are very, let's say, reserved. People just say hello to each other. They just stand there. Giving a hug or giving a kiss is almost unheard of. People sometimes do handshakes, but that's about it. And I don't even think that family members really hug or kiss as a form of a greeting. But no, Armenians, Mediterranean people, people from the Balkans, people from Iberia, those sorts of regions. Yeah, everyone essentially suffocates each other when trying to say hello.
awesome. You want me to explain Armenia, or do you want to?
Max, go ahead.
Me?
We both can.
Okay. So like in Armenia, there's some simple greetings like Bariv, Barivzis, Inchkachka. It's like, what's up, how are you? And then when you meet a new person for the first time, it's always, and like, especially if you're a foreigner and you're there, they're definitely going to invite you in, give you some food, make you eat food. Even if you're full, you got to have food. So it's very hospitable. Like even in my family, I see like over Thanksgiving, I went to go see my cousin Rafi in Boston. And even though I'd never met him before, like he just let us stay at his house, let us in. And I very positive it's the Armenian hospitality that is the reason for that. And I learned a lot from him. He was born in Lebanon. His dad was born in Marash. So I mean, it's just things like that. That's what Armenia is all about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got.
So moving forward, why don't we discuss family values in our cultures, or maybe the family structure, or how we deem family, how we view it?
I guess I'll start off, but I wouldn't necessarily like say it's just like all Libyan culture, because I mean things may be different, but I'll talk about my family specifically. Like family's number one. Family's everything. Family comes before everything. It's more of the one big thing I notice is like here in the States, it's mostly just intermediate family, but like overseas, like for example, it's like like where we live, it's like my grandma and grandpa would be on like the bottom floor, and then it's like my two uncles on the other floor, and then like my other uncle, and then like our family's house. So it's just like we're all living together, like the whole entire family, the whole street, like the whole family is just together, and there's a bond. So like I feel like in my culture, you have like a deeper bond with your grandparents, with your uncles, aunts, like all that stuff, because you're with them a lot more. You grow up with your cousins, and it's just like a very serious thing about like how your family is. Like one thing I specifically notice is like with grandparents, like this, like here for example, they have like retirement homes and stuff like that. Like that is unheard of overseas. Like in Libya specifically, that is unheard of. Your mom, your dad, they stay living with you until like God takes them away, essentially. But that's it. There's no retirement homes. Like for example, like right now, we're blessed. Like my grandma's living with us right now, and it's just like amazing, like to live with her, to see her all the time. But like, I mean, so that's like something very important, and like something we hold very valuable in our culture, or in my family's culture, I should say.
Oh yes.
So I think Bashir, me and Bashir are gonna be saying a lot of the similar things. I'm gonna try not to repeat it too much, but I'm just gonna sort of add on to what he says. So everything Bashir said is the same for us, but I'm gonna add that in Tunisia, I noticed that like even if you have people that aren't related to you by blood, let's say you like, I'll call people my aunt and uncle that aren't actually my aunt and uncle like all the time. And so we'll say like Tatamune or Ammi, which means uncle, and then you say their first name. But it'll sort of be family is not, they're not so strict on what classifies as family, because like I said, like I have by blood, like my uncle's wife is not related to me by blood, obviously, but I still call her. We used to still call her aunt and all that, and same with other family members. So you don't necessarily have to be related by blood, and it's just whoever's really close to the family, blood or not, is considered family.
Well, now based off what he just said,
Mm-hmm.
I have something else to add. Something that's a bit different with family overseas is like for example, like if it was my dad's brother, I would call him Ammi, or like my dad's sister Amti. But then if it was my mom's brother, it would be Khali, and my mom's sister like Khalti. So we don't, like here it's like uncle or aunt from both sides, but there it's like it's a bit different in that you use different terminology to refer to like which side of the family you're talking about, which is something I've always found pretty interesting.
So you guys don't use tonton and tata?
Nah.
That's probably more of a French thing. That's probably the French influence.
Yeah,
That's amazing to me because you guys literally border each other. You're two Arab North African countries, yet you're so different in so many different ways. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's literally like two states in the United States being next to each other, but typically they're very similar. Like there's a big difference. So I think that's cool. Okay, I guess I can share. Actually, Mariam would probably be better at sharing that. So why don't
I
you?
mean, we both can. There isn't only one Armenian on this planet. But you see, I mean, I'm going to try to share some things that haven't been stated before because obviously it's the entire Mediterranean vibe. So everything that we share is going to be practically the same. But you see, in America, people are very much so much more individualistic. And family to them really is entirely different. I mean, in America, people consider their pets to be family members, and that's almost unheard of in Armenian culture. And I think Americans or people would really deem Armenian culture to be just too family oriented and that we just do too much as a family, but that's just the way it is done. I mean, it is so normal for somebody to just live in one household or literally in one house or one commune block in Armenia, like a Soviet style apartment, and to never leave and to bring perhaps their wife and to have an entire new family within that family's house as well. And also, I think in Armenian culture, motherhood or always being there for your cousins and siblings is far more different. It's more prioritized or more saluted, I suppose. I think there are different roles for each family member within the family unit in Armenian culture. Max, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I'll touch on America a little bit more though. Like you notice how vastly different these cultures are. Yet at this, like when you just think of general America, yet at the same time, these cultures are also what makes up America, a very large portion of it. So, it's just being aware of that, and when you see that, it's not like, okay, these people are weird. This is what their culture is. So
yeah,
that's
definitely.
just something I want to highlight.
Of course, it's different for everyone, each to their own.
Yeah.
But also, I find that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're fine.
I'm sorry. So I find that since Armenian history has been very much so heart-wrenching and has often resulted in so many families being entirely wiped out or separated, I realize that this is why family is so prioritized in our culture, and even more than it would be in other cultures, because Armenians understand the power of it and how easy it is to entirely lose it overnight.
Absolutely.
I think that's really powerful. Like legit. I think I never even thought of that, but what you just said, it kind of resonates with me. Like, it makes me like it hurts me to see like Armenians. Obviously, they've always known how important family is, but even more so now, they hold family even more important because of all the horrific events that they've been through. So that's sort of breaks my heart. Just putting it in that perspective, just like, gosh.
There's like a line in Armenian that I like. It's Manu Kasakis Lesumen Paperisana. And what that means is I hear the voices of my ancestors from childhood. So it's like ever since you're a little kid, you're constantly like indulged and like surrounded by things, like you're constantly, the influence of your family members are always being put upon you, like, so you get that family background from a very young age. So I don't know, that's something that I've always liked.
One thing that is very common in Armenian culture as well is intergenerational trauma. And I think most people don't discuss this, but even if we do receive so much love or strength from our family, I think intergenerational trauma or pain being passed down generations is so prevalent as well. And that's something that I've been researching a bit more recently. And I can't deny it. It's very much so there for all Armenian families, it seems.
What's next?
So next up, we can perhaps discuss education or education, pedagogy. I don't think I'm saying that word properly, but we also all come from very old nations that have actually done much for academia or society as a whole. So there's a lot to discuss, actually.
All right.
I'll touch on a bit education of Libya. I mean, I studied there for 1 year in third grade, but I was blessed to go to a private school there, so it's a bit different. But I have quite a lot of friends there that I've talked to. First off, so there's only like 3 years of high school, 3 years of middle school, and then the rest is just like elementary, whatever you want to call it. But pretty much, honestly, like the education has been like insanely affected right now, or like over the past decade, because of war and COVID and such. So it's like they're like going to school in the summer and then they won't go in the winter, and it's just like different schedule because of like war, and like they'll have like tests postponed. But like from talking to my parents in the past, like for example, like here, I mean, you would say senior year is more of like a laid back vibe, like all right, everything's done. But like overseas, it's like when you finish your senior year, you quite literally like take an exam that like determines your future. Like at least in Libya, like you would have to, like, I'm pretty sure like the exam for like, I think it was my dad's year that he graduated, like only 11% of the country passed, and you have to like pass to get into college. So like a lot of people would have to like retake the exam. And then the other thing is like here, no matter what you get, like you could graduate with like a 2.0, but then somehow end up being a doctor, because like anything's possible. But like over there, it's like you must graduate like in the top of your class if you want to like go into being a doctor, if you want to go into like those certain like high level professions. But like here, it's more of just like a laid back, like you can always like make up for it. But whereas there, it's like, I guess you're like under more pressure, I would say.
I
And
wanted
then
to.
like,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, finish it.
I was just saying. I was gonna add on to what you said at the end. You sparked something really cool that I remembered from when I went over the summer. Just finish, and I'll add on.
Oh, I guess like the other big thing is just like boys and girls are pretty much separated until university. So that's like a really totally different aspect. And then the other thing is like Libya, I mean, it's in North Africa. I'm talking like over the summer I was there, it's like 110 degrees. And my friends were going to school and there's like no air conditioning in the school. Like this is like stuff we don't even experience. Like imagine that. And it's like wooden chairs. Like, you know, when you watch those movies from the 1900s and it's like those wooden chairs that look incredibly uncomfortable. That is like where they're sitting. So it's just like honestly like totally different perspective. It's honestly insane to think about now when I go to like my school and look around. It's just something different.
Go for it, Elyes.
I was gonna add onto the, like you said here, like anyone, like if even if you graduate high school with a 2.0, then you can become a doctor. I was gonna say like similar to what you said, like in Tunisia, to like sort of pass high school, there's a test called the BAC. I guess it's called the baccalaureate.
Mm-hmm. It's a French thing.
Yeah, because we have a lot of French influence, but so you have to take that and pass it. But for and I don't want to say cool thing, but the interesting thing, the difference between here and there is here, no matter what you graduate high school with, you can choose kind of what career you want to go into. So I can choose to be something psychology major, literature major, math major, business major. There, your future and your career is decided for you based off your scores on the BAC. So the higher score you get, the more prestigious, like you'll be, you go into the doctorate territory and stuff like that. But if you get like sort of like you still pass, but you get sort of like the lower passing scores, and you'll be like handed into like marketing or like some of the very generic business things. So I thought that was always really interesting. I'm not saying I agree with that system to say I think everybody should be able to choose, but I was kind of shocked to learn that, because here, I mean, obviously anyone can choose any field you want as long as you pass and you get into a college. So that was interesting. But in Tunisia, sort of from what I've noticed, like people put emphasis on education, but there's not as much. I want to be careful how I say this, but there's not as much competition. Like people don't feel the pressure of competition like in America. Like here, it feels like everybody's fighting each other for an A. Is sort of the thing that the schools make us feel. Over there, it's kind of like people will just like barely pass their classes. Like if you're barely passing classes, you're basically getting B's or A's there. I think their education is harder from what I've heard in Tunisia. They don't have as good of teachers and the resources and everything, but like they have emphasis on education. It's just way more laid back. I don't really know how to explain it. Like if you skip class here, like, and you don't have like a parent call you in, like, oh, you're gonna get in trouble. But there, if you skip a class, just like whatever.
Mhm. That is a very foreign thing, in fact. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I was just gonna touch on the last few things we've talked about, so like education and family. One thing I find like extremely interesting is obviously there's like a great influence, obviously still by your parents here in American culture, but I would say like especially like Libyan culture, it's like very forceful of what your parents want you to be. Like, oh no, you're gonna be a doctor. Oh no, you're gonna be this. Like, for example, like my dad's a dentist, and I asked him, I was just like, oh, so what were you like into and curious? And he was just like, no, my mom, there's like a dentistry school open in Libya, and his mom was like, oh yeah, you're going into that. And then he just became a dentist. Like, so it's just like parents are just like kind of are like, yeah, you're gonna do this, like, or no, my son must be a doctor. So it's like you go over, like, it's like I would say that the title of what you are, your status is still like a lot more important in like Libya, for example, than like here in the US. Like for you have to be able to say like I'm a doctor, I'm like an engineer or something like that. Whereas like in the US, like I couldn't care less if you were like a whatever you were. But like there, I feel like status and the title of who you are is very like influential because of like many factors. Like for example, if I wanted to like dwell into it, it's like, for example, like marriage, like when like still there, it's more of like a arranged marriage kind of vibe. So like if I was gonna go ask for the hand of marriage and it was like I'm like a business person or a doctor, they're like, oh no, my daughter must get a doctor or something like that. So that's why like the status is still way more important and essential. So that's something I've like thought about quite a bit.
Mariam, go for it.
So here's the deal. I actually went to school in Armenia for first, third, and fifth grades for a few weeks. I was essentially like an unofficial exchange student. And I have many friends there who are my age and obviously going to school, as we all do. And there are many differences between American and Armenian, like the education systems. And as Elyes mentioned, there is this sort of thing. It's called la voix in French, but this isn't necessarily a French thing, but it really, there is a system where based on where your best grades are or like in what field they are and what your interests are, you kind of have to follow a humanitarian path or like a scientific path or one for business, one for marketing. And with those paths, there are very specialized classes. So obviously, if you're some sort of, not business major, but if you're going into that business path, you're not going to be taking, let's say, linguistic or mathematics sort of classes. And in many ways, this is very restricting, but at the same time, I suppose that it's easier for people to follow their passions that way. There aren't as many opportunities or resources in Armenia, obviously, and the infrastructure is very much so still from like the Soviet era. But at the same time, what's very interesting to me is that after school activities and sports are not as integrated into the school system or school itself the way they are in America. Like there are no such things as sports teams for various schools or let's say huge clubs or organizations at Armenian schools the way there are in America. Like there are people in America, in this country, getting into university or college because of their athletic abilities, but this is almost unheard of in Armenia. It is very much so co-ed in a sense where, you know, in many countries, women are kept illiterate and they're not allowed to pursue some sort of education, but this is almost unheard of in Armenia. And it's interesting because my father actually is a PhD scientist, but here in America, and when he was getting his chemistry bachelor's degree at Yerevan State University in Armenia, there were actually more women in his classes, in all these like sciencey STEM-based classes. And it's quite paradoxical, I suppose, because here in America, people are still trying to get women in STEM. But then you have a country like Armenia that doesn't have enough resources or is considered a second world country. And it seems as though there's more equality in the educational field. But also, I suppose this goes for all countries outside of America, but classes are much more difficult. You have to study more. It's not like you can just easily get into a college through sports or what you do outside of school. And also people learn more languages there, which is like unheard of in America. But everyone learns Russian, Armenian, and also English at school. Many schools also teach German or French. I'm sure this is like the same in North Africa as well.
Max?
I mean, I don't have much else to say. We only have 5 minutes left, so maybe we have time for one more to go quickly.
All right, let's start one off and then just put it over to Max
Okay.
since he hasn't spoken on this one.
Yeah. What should we discuss?
Keep it going.
Maybe we could keep talking a bit, but what?
We could go over holidays and yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Max?
Me?
Yeah. Yes, you.
We just said you.
Well, you already talked about the Armenian Orthodox Christmas holiday, like the January.
Well, that's not the only holiday. What else do we celebrate?
Well, I mean, there's of course other, like I know Elyes does Eid and Bashir does Eid, and it's not like it's not a matter of like talking down on people that don't know about Eid, or in certain parts of the world that Christmas comes on January 6th or January 1st. It's like here, this is like, it's in a constructive way, right? It's like this is what happens in their culture, just so you know, like this is why. It's not why don't you know, it's this is what's happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you wanna touch on like what, like, so you said the Orthodox Christian holiday in Armenia, then just touch on like what someone would do during that day. Like, what people do.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of time with family and food. Mariam actually covered this on one of the videos that we did. So
Just say it again.
re-say it? Okay.
Retweet.
Yeah.
So the history is like, so Armenia, they use like a different calendar, right? And it's like I forget what time period where it shifted, but like long ago it was always January 6th. And then Armenia just kind of stuck with that while everything else kind of went like a different path and maybe, I don't know, modernized. I don't know if it is modernized, but yeah, Armenia sticks with that. And like Mariam said with the Soviet Union, they did it on January 1st because they did not have like religious beliefs, but Armenia's always had that. They were the first Christian country. But yeah, good stuff. All right, you guys go.
Also, for Christmas, I'm just going to add a small note, but for Christmas, we actually
And to cut out.
Oh no. Mariam, we cannot hear you.
Mariam Sharoyan.
We cannot hear you, please. Please.
Dude, and the problem is she's saying like some cold stuff right
I know
Yeah,
now.
you can tell by the hands. Oh.
I'm sorry, I cut out entirely, but yes.
Yeah. Now we hear you.
Yeah, now we hear you. You got 3 minutes.
Yep, 3 minutes.
Okay, so what did you guys hear before? Because
Absolutely nothing.
I'm sorry, I cut out entirely, but Armenians and Italians actually, for whatever reason, we actually eat fish to celebrate Christmas. Fish with rice that has like dried fruits on top. I know that doesn't sound very appetizing, but it's actually very savory. And yes, I mean, Max perfectly explained everything, but Armenians and other Orthodox Christians or Orthodox Christians of the East, essentially, we follow a different calendar. And essentially Western Christians or Catholics took this calendar and kind of aligned it with pagan traditions, if that makes any sense. I mean, the reason why they celebrate Christmas in December is because they used to celebrate Saturnalia that time.
See, you know a lot more about this than I do.
But Max, let's have you share. What does it mean? Just very briefly retouch on what does it mean to you to be Armenian?
It means it's an identity. It means that despite everything that my family went through for me to be here today, I can use that to say, hey, if they went through this, then I'll be fine, you know. And it's also given me something to pursue, like the Genocide Education Project. I would not have any interest in that if it wasn't for what they went through. So touching on that identity thing, it's something that you can use to put good into the world, and hence one of the messages of Diversity for Change, Casey. So
Absolutely.
yes,
Should we all go around and say what it means for us to be from our culture?
It's gonna have to be rapid fire. We got a minute.
I mean, we have less than a minute.
Yeah.
Bashir, go.
Go Bashir.
Being Libyan means a lot to me. It means that I have like a different mentality as Max related to. You see your parents sacrifice so much, it changes your mentality, it changes your work ethic. You know you have to do more. You know you have to do something to make a change because you've been blessed with this opportunity that not many others have been blessed with. I don't got much time, so that's it.
Yes, sir.
All right, go, Mariam, go. Quick.
Go, Mariam.
I don't even know where to begin, but basically it's doing everything for our ancestors, doing everything to keep their spirit, their dreams, their hopes for Armenia alive. It's sharing our culture, spreading, not propaganda, but always talking about it as I do.
That's
And yeah,
right.
basically doing everything for Armenia. Go ahead.
Elyes.
Well, being Tunisian means to be proud of where I come from and sort of, show everybody about it and try to spread as much positivity about my own culture and try to negate any people's perception on it that's not true.
Yes, sir. Love it. Thank you guys for hopping on today. Good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Round of applause, round of applause.
Let's go.
We did it.
All right. See you guys later.
See y'all.
We even have some spare time left. Wow.
We don't